welcome to the first episode of Beaneater Buzz. I am Jordan Hunt. I'm going to be your host. This is my co-host, Colleen McGuire.
Hello.
And we are stoked today. We got some big things going down, lots to go over. Before we touch on all the big news, I think we should go over some of the smaller things, some of the things that are a little bit distant. Baseball is back. CBA got signed just last week. And a lot of things have gone down since.
A lot.
I think personally, we have discussed this before. One of the big things that the players got was the minimum. And I mean, what was it? It's $700K to start out this year. It's going to go up $20,000 a year. That's a lot more than I thought they would get. To 780. What was it before?
I think it was 570, 500, I believe was the prior.
So, I mean, you're talking almost 150K? Mm-hmm. No, 130K. Yeah. So 130K.
It's not gonna change.
I mean, that's a lot more than I make. just being honest. I mean, I wish if I made 130K in 1 year, I'd probably take the next year off and I'd be pretty happy. So spring training is starting. That's a great thing. It's kind of been nice to see some of those Acuna Albies pictures and stuff. That there was a presence there that is controversial. How do you feel about it?
I assume you're meaning Ozuna in this
case.
I guess we should say his name. We will have to say his name.
There are people who say he who shall not be named. I'm like, he's not Voldemort, okay? Like, I get it. He made a big mistake. I will never downplay that mistake. Domestic violence is terrible, but he's still a human. We have to acknowledge that he's there. So again, how do you feel about it?
I think it seems like he's talked to the guys, he's apologized to the guys. The guys have welcomed him back. You can see some of the videos with him and Ozzy and Acuna, and they're having fun. And if it's not going to affect the clubhouse that much, then I think we've kind of just got to accept that he's going to be playing with the team. And we're Braves fans, and if we're going to root for the Braves, it's going to include Ozuna. And that are, like you said, it was bad. Domestic violence is never good. Obviously, he made mistakes. So we just have to decide if we're okay moving on from it and continuing to root for the Braves. And if we are, then that's what it's going to be, I think.
I think that's spot on with how everybody should view it. And, another thing that we probably should acknowledge is before we get into those other things that, we will talk about, Ozuna's clubhouse presence and what he means to Ronald, to Ozzy, to Heredia, to those guys, it's going to be huge now with what we're missing now. So, and I could see some other guys stepping up in that clubhouse. And I'll touch on that a little bit later, but it is what it is. He is an Atlanta Brave. I'm going to cheer for the name on the front, not on the back. And, he used to be my favorite player on the team. 2020, he absolutely won me over. And I was all about giving him that contract. I can't blame Alex for that contract. So, Alex did his job in that sense. And unfortunately, it was one of those things that came back to bite us last year. But I guess the best advice I could give to Marcell Ozuna is leave it on the field. Go out there, play baseball. I know we're going to see some selfie celebrations. That's probably going to rub me wrong for a little while. It's not the selfie celebration that I don't like. I love the selfie celebration. It's the glorification of a person who has done some heinous things that bothers me a little bit. So we'll see how that goes. I agree.
Yeah, I was talking to someone a little bit about that yesterday, and I was like, I'm all for the celebrations, the bat flips, give me it all day, every day. I can't wait to see Acuna doing it again.
I know. I can't wait.
It's just more with, Ozuna. I think at least to start, he needs to be a little bit more subdued, just don't bring a ton of attention to yourself. We already know there's going to be a lot of PR surrounding him being back on the team. But I just, knowing him, knowing what kind of player he is, he's going to just kind of go back to what he was. And I guess it's going to be what it's going to be. But
I do appreciate that he did acknowledge the fans in his apology. Yes. He said, I understand there's going to be people who never accept me back. And yeah, there are. I mean, there's a lot of people who, like, they will tell you straight up, I don't want him, get him off my team. So I'm not necessarily in that camp. I was in the, hey, we should trade this guy camp. And when he was crushing it down in the Dominican League, I was like, do it. Crush those baseballs, because I want to see somebody else interested in you so that we can move you for a terrible contract. Now I feel a bit different. So I'm glad time has kind of waned me a little bit. But anyways, moving on. I don't want to talk about Marcell Ozuna all day long. So that would be
Ozuna pod.
Yeah. Everybody's like, this is their first episode. All they want to talk about is Ozuna. So just, recap the offseason. Probably the biggest free agent signing. Well, I don't know if it was the biggest, but the first free agent signing was Manny Pena. I think you said 2 years, $8 million?
2 8.
And I think there's also a 3rd-year option that I saw. So with, Langoliers not being in the organization anymore, that 3rd-year option becomes big. And I also, the first thing I did was look up Travis d'Arnaud, and he's 33. So it's possible at the end of this contract, we could ink him for another year or maybe 2 if we need to. And I think that he's going to come back. So I think that's good.
It seems like he likes it here. Yeah, Manny Pena is actually 34. He'll be 35 in June, which I didn't realize.
So those 2 years are going to be, he's definitely a backup. We'll say that. But he put up some power numbers. You said he had a 95 weighted run created plus.
Which for a catcher, I mean.
And plus I touched on it the other day as well. His batting average on balls in play is horrendous from last season. So if that comes up, even if that comes up to 200 and he still, hits some bombs, hey, I mean, that's what you want in a backup catcher. And I've also heard he is a phenomenal clubhouse guy. We know Alex loves that.
And he's got a cannon, as from everything I'm reading. He's from the catcher perspective, he can throw guys out.
Didn't even think about that. You know what? Actually, I do remember that. Whenever the signing first went down, I thought, man, sure would have been nice to have that guy in the postseason, because they were
right. And I think that's the thing. I love Travis, and he can pop him. He's a great guy, but they were running on him. So a guy who can nail guys,
running wild on Travis d'Arnaud in the postseason. Yeah. So that, I mean, that's a tool we just haven't had in a long time. I mean, even prior to, prior seasons, we had Kurt Suzuki and Tyler Flowers. Neither one of those guys has an arm that you would really, want to. Yeah, exactly. If they're behind the plate, you're thinking, okay, I can get an extra 2 steps on this guy. So that's a big thing. I didn't know that. I'm glad you brought that up. That's good. Darren O'Day is back, minor league deal. Could be a nice, bullpen depth guy. I do probably think he ends up making the team. I know Alex likes him a lot, and that deceptive nature really does something for him, even if he is only throwing 88 now or something like that.
Right. Yeah. He's one of those guys that if he stays away from the injuries, I think he's a good piece.
Yeah, he's at least serviceable.
Yes.
He reminds me so much of, and it's not just the sidearm thing, it's just the ground ball, whatever. He reminds me so much of Peter Moylan. And he's a good clubhouse guy too. And I think that's another reason Alex went back to him as well. He's the one who gave Tyler Matzik the nickname, the Death Star. So yeah, I mean, we all joke about Tyler Matzik's testicles quite often. So, so there's another fun nickname for Tyler Matzik if you want to keep it PG-13. So he's Darren O'Day's, I think, going to be a good one, even if he is just, even if he just serves a Josh Tomlin type role. Josh Tomlin had played a role on a World Series team. Two of them, in fact, actually, he just didn't win the 2016 World Series. So Kirby Yates, that was the big one that went down right before the lockout. It was interesting. How did you feel about that one?
I mean, he's a guy in 2019 with the Padres was like the top closer in the league.
Yeah, he was one of the best relievers in baseball.
Hasn't pitched in a couple of years. He's probably not going to pitch for the first half of the year, but I think it was a good signing. I think it has a lot of potential.
Yeah. And I think
it'll be exciting to see how it plays out.
And maybe you can look this up. I don't know. I think the first year is only like 2 million, something like that. I think it's 8 million over 2 years, or 8.25 million, something around there.
It's 8.25. Wow,
okay.
Look at you, 2 years.
Yeah. Hey,
it just says 2 years.
I'm known for my memory.
With the 2024 club option. Okay,
yeah. So there's a 2024 club option. So it could become a 3-year deal.
Could be.
Hey, could be. So that's nice. I mean, especially if he goes back to those 2019 years. That would be
really.
We'd have a pretty elite bullpen. I mean, Tyler Matzik, Luke Jackson's a free agent after this year, and I didn't realize that until just recently, and kind of got me emotional. I love Luke Jackson. I'm wearing his shirt right now, so he's one of my favorites. But
yeah, I love Luke just as a dude. I feel like he's awesome.
And then there's the other Jackson, Jay Jackson. We've talked about him a few times.
Jackson squared.
I think you said he had something like a 3.8 ERA and a 4.05 WHIP, or FIP. Get a 4.05 WHIP. We'd be in trouble.
Get him off the team. Yeah, he was. Yeah, so he had a 3.74 ERA.
Yeah, 23 games, 21.1 innings, something like that. And I mean, that's, and that was with one of the best teams in baseball. He was in one of the best bullpens in baseball out in San Francisco. So maybe he'll be a little bit more favored in our bullpen, and maybe he'll get a chance to show something. That would be cool.
Savant doesn't have a lot. It just has fastball velocity.
And those guys who
reddish. So
yeah. Well, hey, I like red on baseball. Savant.
Red, more red. It's better.
The more blue, you start to get sad. It's kind of it's kind of symbolic there. So we can go ahead and touch on the big news of the week. Matt Olson to the Atlanta Braves. I found out from you. I was standing at work.
Text.
Yeah, I was like, when you sent, and we had just been texting, I think, right before that, hadn't we?
Yes.
Yeah, and then you texted me and you're like, Jordan. I was like, what? Like, what's going on? And for some reason, I have Passan's notifications on. Always will, always do. For whatever reason, I didn't get that one, or I didn't see it. I even went back and tried to find it. And I mean, it was in my notifications when I scrolled through, but I hadn't gotten it. And then you sent me that, and then you just said Olson in all caps. And I was like, okay, where'd he go? And I was not prepared to get too excited. So what was your initial reaction?
My first reaction was, wait, is this actually
is this real?
Jeff Passan? Yeah, like I was like, wait a second.
That's always the question, right?
Did he get hacked? And it was, I think it was like a shock of, wow, this actually happened, because we've been talking about it, and there's been rumors of Braves being connected to Olson, and where was Freddie going to sign? There were so many different questions of it, and just kind of seeing that it was done was like, wow, AA pulled the trigger. That's kind of what it was like. Wow, he decided to do this, and it was sort of like, this is exciting.
People have given him so much crap about not making the big trades. And then he makes it, and everybody is pissed. And it's like, what? You've been asking for this for 4 years.
You've been telling him to stop holding on to the prospect.
You told him to stop hugging prospects. He stopped hugging Christian Pache, which was our number one prospect and he had some struggles. I like Pache a lot. I think that I'm really glad that he's going to an organization where his defense will be valued. Because Oakland,
just a good club for just the development. I think
it's like a quadruple A team, It's like, I mean, they're not going to compete, so he is going to have a role on that team. And I think Laureano will end up being moved as well. I mean, I think so. So that opens up center field for him anyways. And I think that if you have a defender as elite as Christian Pache, you can move him to center field and move Laureano off of it. And then you've got a great right fielder, huge ballpark. And I think that's a big thing that people aren't seeing about this Matt Olson trade is he's going from one of the worst hitting ballparks in baseball to one of the best.
Yeah. And as a lefty too.
Especially for left-handed batters. Yes. I mean, don't worry about the chop house. We need to be worrying about the battery because this dude is going to be cranking them out of Truist Park. It's going to be incredible. It's going to be really fun to watch. I thought about not doing this, but I feel like it's important to important to get the facts out there about the comparison of Freddie Freeman, Matt Olson. Okay. Matt Olson is an Atlanta kid. I mean, he is probably going to come to Atlanta, say, hey, I love it here. I'm from here. He went to the same high school as Jeff Francoeur.
Right.
Found that out today. That's awesome. It's not going to be hard to get this guy to sign a $150 million contract over 7 years or something like that. And guess what? He's 27 years old, not 32. But I wrote down some stats and went ahead and compared them to a Freddie Freeman. And pretty much most of them, Matt Olson was better. And there are other areas where Freddie was better. Ex-WOBA, Freddie blew him away. However, they had the same WOBA. Or weighted on base average, whatever. It depends on if you want to talk like that or not. Baseball jargon, whatever. But 146 weighted run created plus, better than Freddie Freeman.
Yep.
379 weighted on base average, even. 5.0 F4, better than Freddie Freeman, who had a 4.5 F4. Walk rate 13.1%, K rate 16.8%. The walk rate was higher than Freddie Freeman's walk rate. And everybody talks about how Freddie Freeman, he takes his walk. Yeah, well, so does Matt Olson.
Yeah.
And I don't know. And, just a few more things. He paced Freddie in extra base hits by a good bit.
Yeah.
And in one of the worst hitting ballparks in baseball. That's got to be highlighted more. I think it was you that I retweeted that from last night.
Yeah, I was just going to touch on the stat about left-handed batters versus left-handed pitching in MLB history.
That was a
Matt
great
Olson
stat.
had 22 in 2021, which is the most that a left-handed batter has ever had. And there's Barry Bonds on here, Griffey, Darryl Strawberry. Like there's guys on there who can hit the ball. But so this is just
Legends.
in MLB. He's had the most against lefties.
That's insane.
22.
That is a crazy stat.
He can hit the ball.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I saw another video last night of him hitting a walk. It was so this is unreal how the parallels are unbelievable. Matt Olson hit a walk-off home run in the bottom of the 10th inning off of Josh Hader. There's only one other left-handed hitter who's done that, and that's Freddie Freeman. And I think that was in 2019 as well. There were fans there, so I knew it wasn't 2020. But I don't believe it was last year because I'm pretty sure they said because
we played the Central, so the Central would have played the West. So I think that makes sense.
Right, and they ran that stat over and over again in the postseason. Josh Hader did not allow a home run to a left-hander until the Freddie Freeman bottom of the eighth, home run that he hit to win the NLDS. So the parallels are incredible between Freddie and Matt Olson. There's an area that Matt Olson is significantly better, and that's defense. He's one of the best defenders at first base in the game. He's got 2 Gold Gloves. He's only been in the league since 2016 and very briefly in 2016 and 17. So, and yeah, Freddie was a Gold Glover too. But, you know, when you got a guy who could be a perennial Gold Glover, especially on our team, Alex, again, emphasis on defense. And our infield defense is pretty incredible. You add a Matt Olson to that. Yes, we're losing a Freddie Freeman there, but you actually upgraded defensively at first base. I'm not trying to beat up Freddie Freeman here at all. I love Freddie Freeman, but he's getting older. I want Freddie to go out there and I want him to milk the Dodgers and the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Blue Jays for every penny. I want him to get $270 million. I don't think it's going to go that high, but I could realistically see him getting $225 with that amount of big players in on him.
Right.
And that would explain why Alex made the move he did.
Yeah, it's like, I get it. Freddie is Freddie. I understand the emotional connection to Freddie. Like, I get it from that side of it. You know, it was like one of those things where my heart was like Freddie. My head was like, yep, I think we should get Olson. And so I understand being like, we love him and everything that he's done for this team and how he stuck it out through the good and the bad through all these years. But he's 32 years old, and you don't have to look that far to see first basemen getting contracts that didn't work out very well, who were aging, and you have to look at it as a business. And whoever made the decision, we don't know. And I think that's the thing. We don't know who truly decided this, if Freddie really was never.
Yeah, because there's 2 different stories going in on
exactly.
It. Yeah, I mean, you've got Freddie's camp saying they blindsided us, and then you've got Alex saying, look, we let them know that, hey, we can't wait any longer. I heard this from somebody, and I'm not a guy who, I got a source. I don't believe that. I can't stand that. But I do know somebody who has a friend who works for the organization. And supposedly, now again, warning here. Take it with a grain of salt. I don't know how true it is, but I heard that basically the A's told Alex Anthopoulos, and I mean, I told you this, I mentioned this to you the other day. I thought that Alex already had a deal on the table for Olson should he need to pivot. And clearly he did. And from what I heard, Alex had the deal on the table. He had the deal ready to go. And if Freddie didn't take it, he was pulling the trigger on Olson. Well, and this matches up with the reports that we have heard in the past few days. So I do tend to believe it. The Yankees were going hard for Matt Olson. But the A's liked our package better, probably because of Shea Langeliers. And so the A's supposedly told Alex Anthopoulos, hey, if you don't make this deal tonight, we're going with the Yankees.
Right.
And then Alex was, basically forced to make a decision. And that really, it does fit the timeline. So if it is true, it makes a lot of sense. And maybe there was just some confusion on Freddie's end when he says that, they didn't tell me, they blindsided me. Maybe what happened was Alex was saying, hey, look, I can't wait much longer. I need to figure out what's going to happen here, because I still have a team that I have to build. And Alex touched on it. I'm missing an outfielder. I need another outfielder, which was beautiful to hear, because that means he's going after an outfielder. I need a starting pitcher. Like, that's all that, those things, hearing those things from Alex Anthopoulos from the mouth of the GOAT, man, like, like to hear it from him, now, like, this wasn't just Freddie Freeman and then or Freddie Freeman or Matt Olson and the postseason or the off season's over. There's other pieces.
Right. And I think it's at some point, it's like, it comes down to like Alex Anthopoulos, his job is to put a team on the field. He can't sit around and wait for Freddie to make a decision, because he needs to know where his funds are going. First of all, is he trading for a first baseman, or is he putting $170 million into a first baseman? So now he knows, okay, he had to make this trade, and now he can make the other moves he needed to make.
He's got
I get it.
so much
He has a job
money.
too. He can't sit around and wait.
Yeah, and he's got so much money now to play with.
He
And
said
then
payroll was going to increase.
He said payroll was going up, and it was like, payroll's going up, huh? We just lost a $22 million first baseman, but payroll's going up. That sounds awesome. But I mean, we also have to take that with a little bit of a grain of salt as well. I expect him to probably spend another 25 million, maybe tops, because you've got a lot of arbitration guys getting set to get raises. Austin Riley, Tyler Matzik, Dansby Swanson, Adam Duvall. I mean, the list it's long, but Max Fried, Mike Soroka. I mean, all those guys. I don't know if Mike Soroka's getting a raise. I'll refrain from saying that, but they might, offer him a 1 or 2 year deal and say, hey, let's see, let's throw a couple million at him and see what happens. But still, he's probably going to get a raise, at least close to one. So you've got a lot of guys getting raises. So that is going to factor into that. Payroll's going up. But at the same time, like, Alex wouldn't say, I need an outfielder, I need a starting pitcher. He wouldn't say those things if he didn't mean them. Alex has never been the type to do that. He will be the type to downplay it if he doesn't think he's going to make those moves and be like, oh, I think we're good. I think, he's that type of guy. I think we've got all the pieces in-house. He says that stuff a lot. So for him to just come out and say, we still need to get an outfielder, we still need to get a starting pitcher, he's serious. Like, he's in the market. So, yeah, and like you said, Freddie, I mean, he's got my heart, man. Freddie Freeman will always have a special place in my heart. I love that guy. I told you, a few minutes ago, my favorite memory of Freddie is 2012. We're facing the Marlins. I think it was bottom of the ninth. It's either bottom of the ninth or bottom of the 10th. Chipper Jones is standing on third base. He's the winning run. We win this game. We go to the postseason. And a sac fly puts us in the postseason. Freddie Freeman hits a tank to dead center, and Chipper Jones is standing there on third base with his fist raised. It was just such a powerful moment to know, like, the old guy's moving on. This is our guy now. Like, and Freddie Freeman means that to Braves country. And I don't know. Do you have a favorite memory that you thought of Freddie? Or
I do, actually. So in 2019, I went to Atlanta in May when they were playing the Brewers. My parents were in Florida and they were driving back up, and they were like, hey, why don't you fly down to Atlanta and meet us there. We'll go to a couple games. So it was, I went to the Saturday games. It was May 18th, I remember. And the game was tied, and it was Hader was pitching, and Freddie came up to bat and hit one to the chop house to walk us off.
You were there for that game?
I was there. And that was awesome. So I saw his other home run against Hader. So that's why it's pretty cool. Like, I was there that other time he did it. And it was just,
you were probably thinking that the whole time I'm talking about that. That's amazing.
The place just went nuts. And I remember I was in a frenzy, like, oh my God, I can't. It was such a cool, I was just on a high for the next day. It was really, really, of course we lost the game the next day, but still it was awesome.
Who cares? That is a legendary moment in, Freddie Freeman's Braves career. Absolutely. Walking off on Josh Hader, best left-handed reliever in baseball. Like, it's just, that's so cool that you were there for that.
And Freddie hit one the next day, and it was his 200th, I believe.
Okay.
Sound right? I know it was, because I think it was 250 hit last year. So it must have been, but it was like a big home run, because I remember they had get it from the guy who caught it and all that. So
that's pretty.
I guess he had hit
awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome, an awesome moment.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I have been in. I've only seen one game at Truist. It was against the Dodgers. It did not go well. What's his name? Oh my God, Clayton Kershaw.
Okay.
Drew 3 walks.
Drew, at bat. So he was drew 3 walks himself.
He drew 3 walks, had an opposite field double down the left field line, and through 7 2/3 innings of 1-run baseball. And it was just like, well, I guess I got to see a legend throw a crazy good game and have the best game of his career at the plate. So I was like, yeah, it's kind of cool, I guess, whatever. But I have seen 2 walk-off homers. I saw Andrew Jones hit a walk-off homer. And I also saw Nick Green. I saw Nick Green hit a walk-off homer. He has 1 walk-off homer in his career. I was there for that.
So you're part of
yeah, a little bit of history there. I tagged him. He retweeted it one day, a video of it, and I was like, I was there for that. He was like, oh, that's awesome. I was like, yeah. So yeah, it was pretty cool, that moment. Now we haven't really dove into we've touched on it a little bit, but what we gave up for Olson.
Yes.
And it was a lot. I think that it was a pretty close. The more I've looked at it, I think that it's a good deal. It makes sense.
I put it into the trade simulator, and it was pretty even. It wasn't like they gave up too much, or
I actually thought it would take more than that to get Olson, because I had heard what they were asking for from the Yankees.
Right.
And I was like, oh man, this is going to be, if Freddie walks, we're going to have to give up a ton. And we did give up a lot. I'm not downplaying what we gave up. Christian Pache is a great baseball player. Ryan Cusick, that's our first pick last year.
I was going to say, I was reading yesterday. I was like, that's the guy we just drafted. Wait a second.
That's our first pick last year. Dude throws 102 in college. Like, yeah, that's a dude right there. And then Joey Estes, I'm not as versed on Joey Estes, but I've heard a lot of good things about him. So I know that's a good piece too. The big piece is Shea Langoliers.
Absolutely.
I mean, I have been literally counting down the days until we saw Shea Langoliers in a Braves uniform. And now we're not going to get to see that. So that does suck.
Yeah. And I think we knew it would be, if we were going to do a package like this, it would be Langoliers or it would be Michael Harris.
Yep. And I thought
they're valued about the same. And so I think it was just a decision on whoever's part, whether that be the A's or the Braves. But
one thing that I will touch on here that I don't think a lot of people are really looking at and saying, wow, actually that's pretty impressive. Alex Anthopoulos got this deal done without including a Kyle Muller or a Tucker Davidson.
Yeah.
I thought for sure one of those guys would be in this package, for sure. And we get to keep both those guys. So I am excited about that. Because those guys are both major league ready. I mean, Muller might need a little bit more seasoning than Davidson, but I think Tucker Davidson could have a serious impact on our rotation this year. Like, he could end up being a legit starting pitcher for the Braves this year. He might ride that 5th spot, and I think that we still need to sign somebody. I don't think we're going to trade for anybody. We don't really have much to trade.
No, I just, unless it's just,
But so, yeah, we always knew it would be Shea Langoliers or Michael Harris. And then we always knew that there would be a Christian Pache in there. I always knew Pache would be the name, because 2 years ago, it was every trade we said, oh, Pache or Waters, or Waters. Waters has fallen off quite a bit. The A's weren't letting that deal get done without Pache in there. So understandably so. What have you thought about what you would grade this as?
I mean, to me, because I'm not a well-versed a ton in values of prospects and things like that, admittedly. So that's why I kind of plugged it into the simulator, where it kind of tells you, this is about what they'd be worth and what you could get. And it was, I think the Braves gave the A's, it was like 43.5 million, and Olson's like 45. So it's right around, it's right around what you'd expect. I think you have to give to get, and that's ultimately what it comes down to. And we've said this, I trust AA, that he decided this was a good deal. So I'm like, okay, they must have faith in Contreras down the line as a major league catcher. We've already seen that Pache, obviously defensively, he's a wizard. the bat's very light, and maybe they, sort of were looking at that, and maybe the A's value the defense more, and those different things. And so
Yeah.
I don't have the attachment to prospects that some people do. So for me to see them go, I'm like, oh, obviously Shea is probably going to be a great player, but for me right now, I'm like, well, now we know we have Matt Olson, and I guess that's kind of how I'm seeing it.
Right.
So,
and I think right now, just with the 2 years of control we have on Matt Olson, coming off a World Series, we're ready to repeat. Like we're losing our guy in Freddie Freeman, but we're trying to repeat. So I think right now I would probably give it like a B+, maybe an A-.
Mhm.
But if we extend Matt Olson for 6-7 years, immediately A+. Immediately.
Right. And that's the thing with the trade is like, you don't necessarily know when you make it, how it's going to turn out. But if we win the World Series next year, or win one with him in the next couple of years, if
Nobody
Shaylin
even
goes to the A's and doesn't
Freddie
pan
who?
out, you never know what could happen.
Freddie Freeman, who? No, Freddie Freeman, dude, they could hang his number in Truist Park today. Dansby Swanson said nobody should ever wear 5 again. Yeah. And I agree. They could hang it. I mean, if he signs with the Dodgers, no matter who he signs with, first time he comes to Atlanta, hang it. Mm-hmm. Put it up in the rafters.
He's getting a standing O that's going to last.
Oh my God, minutes. Dude, it's going to last for 45 minutes. Like everybody's going to cry. I mean, it's just going to be, it's going to be a powerful moment. First time he steps back in Truist, no matter where he goes. And I kind of, for that reason, I kind of selfishly want him to go to like the Dodgers, because
I've thought about it for both sides. I'm like, it'd be nice
to
be able to not have to wait for the moment, but I'm also like, just like so soon for him to be there playing in a Dodgers uniform, and it would hurt too.
But but my wife is a Blue Jays fan, and the Blue Jays are reportedly in big on him. I don't know how big that is. Carlos Baerga, he's a dude. I think he's from the Toronto area. Anyways, he covers the Blue Jays. I don't think he's like affiliated with anybody or anything. And he's kind of one of those hit and miss guys that sometimes he breaks the deal, sometimes he doesn't. He broke Marcus Semien to the Blue Jays. Okay. He broke the Barrios extension. Okay. And last night he posted on Instagram that the Blue Jays are getting Freddie Freeman. So take it with a grain of salt. But again, my wife is a big Blue Jays fan. If they get Freddie Freeman, that's kind of a win for me. Kind of a win for me. Like I get to watch him more, and that would.
They're already a force. So if they add Freeman to that lineup, forget it. I think that would be an awesome spot, especially because his mom is Canadian. I feel like that's just
and I think people don't. I think people don't value that part of it enough. I mean, Freddie played for the Canadian team in the World Baseball Classic because of his mother. He wears long sleeves in 95 to 100 degree weather in Atlanta because of his mother. Like, dude, he loves his mom. Like, I mean, everybody loves their mom, don't get me wrong, but like he values honoring his mother. Like that is a huge thing for Freddie Freeman. Mm-hmm. And that could potentially sway him to go to Toronto. I mean, he's a dual citizen. Yeah, he is a Canadian citizen, so it's pretty cool. I think that would be awesome. I can't wait to see where he lands and see how much. Yeah,
just the longer it goes. I mean,
oh my God,
this is every day. I'm like, okay, so we got Olson. So Freddie's going to sign soon. Nope,
that's what I thought.
24 hours later, and he still hasn't.
The second you texted me and said Olson, I was like, oh man, Freddie's going to sign in the next 10 minutes, and nothing. But then again, just in the past 24 hours, Blue Jays are reportedly in, Yankees, Dodgers, Red Sox, the Rays.
Yeah, the Red Sox, I saw that this morning. I'm like, the Rays are just going in there to throw their hat in the ring.
I know. They're just like, hey, how much will you take? They're not serious. And if, you know what, if they are, more power to them, dude, because it would make a lot of people in Tampa happy. That is a tortured fan base. So I feel for him. And we did touch on the emotional aspect of it. We saw Alex Anthopoulos crying in the interview, And, you know, I
Yeah,
mean,
it was tough for him.
he held it back a little bit, but you could tell Alex Anthopoulos loves Freddie Freeman.
Mhm.
That is, he's touched on it a few times. Like, Freddie Freeman's his guy. He's been there for 4 years with Freddie. He knows Freddie personally. And you could, like, the dude just pulled off one of the biggest trades of his career.
Yeah.
Like a trade that is going to be legendary in Atlanta. I know a lot of people right now aren't ready to see it that way. But if this dude signs an extension here, Alex Anthopoulos is a hero. And like, he's crying because he had to make the deal. That tells me a whole lot about what Freddie Freeman meant, not only in that clubhouse, but in the front office. So another area there. And did you see Snit found out on the field?
Yes.
Oh man. And like, he was just like deer in the headlights. Like, what? And you know, he did a good job of holding it together, but you could tell it hit him. And it was just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It was rough. And that's sometimes where I wish the media wouldn't be so, we got to slam this down your throat, like right now. Like, they didn't even give Alex a chance to walk from his office at the spring training facility down to the field to say, hey, look, I need to talk to you real quick. Didn't even give him a chance to do that. And I mean, Snit's just like bewildered. Like, he's just stuck. And it's just like, oh man, rough.
It's like, what do you say in that situation?
I mean, what do you say? I mean, you know that Brian Snitker has a great personal relationship with Freddie Freeman. I mean, he was,
and all the guys do. Obviously, you can tell.
Yeah. Oh, Dansby, you can tell Dansby's upset. I know that Tyler Matzik is upset. He has time and time again this offseason said, re-sign Freddie. We want Freddie Freeman back. We want him here. And
Travis Darno is another one. I saw something earlier today.
Austin Riley.
Like,
what did Darno say?
He basically said, it was Justin Toscano who had something about, he's the reason that he came to the Braves, because calling pitches against Freddie was like one of the hardest things. And so he loves his family. So, and I get that. Rightfully so, they all loved him, but I'm also like, I kind of feel for Matt Olson, because he's like, wow, these are huge shoes that I have to fill. And I hope,
I know, I worry about that,
with open arms, and that he doesn't feel like, oh, I'm just not Freddie.
Well,
you know,
there's a lot.
Guys can accept that it's a business and he had to do what he felt was the best decision.
There's a lot of people who say that Matt Olson is a phenomenal human being. Dallas Braden yesterday went on, he posted a video, and he was just like, look, Braves fans, I know you're upset, but you do not understand how good of a baseball player you're getting and how much better of a human being we are getting. And I think that's Alex Anthopoulos working his magic. Like, he replaced Freddie Freeman, this dude who is just, I mean, they could build a statue today, and it belongs. And and apparently we're getting a guy just like him. So,
and I know Alex really values like track record and clubhouse. Like, he talks to guys, and is he going to be a good fit? And have you heard things about that? So he's not just making trades with a guy that nobody's going to like. So he's vetted this, and he's made sure that he's like, Matt Olson's going to be a great fit for this. And there was another thing I was just looking it up, because he obviously grew up in Georgia. We were just touching on that, but he has a friend from high school who has autism. And so he's created this like organization in Georgia for people with autism. I'm like, that's awesome. Like, so he's just like, he's a community guy, he's a hometown, like, it's all, I can't wait to see him in a Braves uniform.
That hits me a bit. I have an autistic nephew who lives in my home with me. And
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge. Just
Yep. Big Matt Olson fan now. That's
yeah.
crap.
I can see you getting choked up.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to. I love that little guy.
No, that's great. I think that's great to have that.
Prior to my daughter being born, like, I mean, he's still my little buddy. Don't get me wrong. I just haven't had a chance to spend as much time with him because now he's going to school, and I mean, he's just, you know, yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm glad you told me that. I did. No. That's
Yeah,
That-
I
that's
tweeted
the
the video.
stuff I want to hear about.
Yeah.
I need to go back and look at that. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I'll
really
have to show
cool.
that to my wife. It's going to get her pretty
Aw.
good, I'm sure. The one thing that there's two more things I want to touch on before we hop off, and that is the first off, the new top 10 prospect list.
All right.
It is not pretty. For lack of a better word, we blew up the farm. We did, and that's fine. I only have one regret in the trade. We should have really blew it up and got a Sean Manaea. That's the only thing.
Yeah, I was
wish we
actually.
had
I know
done.
you would ask me, is there anyone
like,
else?
is there
I was kind
somebody
of
else?
expecting
Who else is in there?
put someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
but that's because I saw, and it was only the name Langoliers. I knew Pache would be in it. I knew the day before I was talking about Ryan Cusick will probably be involved in this because he's a big raw arm who was he was a first round pick last year. So he's going to be a guy that the A's would probably want. I was right. I can't believe that. I mean, I like to think I'm right all the time, but it doesn't work that way very often. But the new top 10, I'll just kind of throw it out there and I'll see your reaction. This is according to MLB.com. Okay, so this could probably change fairly quickly. I'm sure that Baseball America and all of them have a different number one, to be honest. MLB.com has Drew Waters as our number one prospect. Okay. And then Michael Harris. We knew he'd be up there.
He's going to be a stud, I think. So that's
yeah. So
yeah,
that might be the answer to center field. But we're a few years away from him being ready. So I don't know what we're going to do until he is available. So anyways, Kyle Muller, Tucker Davidson.
Okay.
Right. So, I mean, we kind of figured those two would be in the top 5. Braden Shoemake is our number 5 prospect now.
Okay.
Yeah. That's pretty rough. And then you got, just to finish out the top 10, Schuster, Strider, Elder. Now, I like Elder. I like Elder a lot.
I think it's Strider too. I think he's probably going to play.
Strider is going to be awesome. I am shocked that he didn't get moved in this trade. That was one that I thought for sure would I thought he would be one of the pieces to, really push it through. Apparently that was Joey Estes instead, which is another thing we should applaud Alex Anthopoulos for. That easily could have been Spencer Strider.
Yeah, he did hold on to some pieces that are
he did
have potential to be.
We've got some work to do. And then just to finish out the bottom half, Freddie Tarnok, and then Vaughn Grissom. Grissom has some promise. He's probably going to be ranked higher after this season if he replicates what he did last year. But that's our top 10. And I mean, you think about the days just of 2019, you had William Contreras in there. You had Pache was number 1. I mean, he was our number 1 guy. Waters, Contreras. I mean, you had all kinds of guys in there that they're just not here anymore, or they are here and they just have fallen off massively.
Right.
I still have faith in William Contreras.
Me too.
I think that he's got the Dansby and Riley syndrome, where sliders are just eating him up the first couple of years. But Dansby and Riley play on the same team as him. So if I were him, I'd be picking some ears. How are you recognizing this? Because I know you guys struggled the first couple of years. I think that William Contreras could still be a great piece. I don't know. Catching really just became a very interesting situation because I think we all thought for sure I thought Langoliers was almost untouchable. And I guess if you're going to get a Matt Olson, you're going to need a Shea Langoliers. So
Gotta give to get, like I
Yeah,
said.
you got to give to get. The last
Especially
thing,
after our catching situation last year, you think they want to hold on to whoever they can because you
right?
never know.
But I mean, going into 2022, we're pretty healthy in that area still. We've got Travis Darno. We signed Manny Pena. We gave Chadwick Tromp $720K. And then there's William Contreras. And
Right.
should William Contreras have a really good season at AAA, 2022, he might be our starting catcher. Or if Travis d'Arnaud goes down again.
Right.
Now, Travis d'Arnaud's injury last year was fluke, big time
Absolutely.
fluke. You can't predict somebody running into you and you breaking your thumb. Like, you just can't predict that. But a lot of people still give him flack for his injury history. I just don't think that's fair. I know he had some injury history up in New York, but everybody who plays for the Mets has injury problems. So that dude, they need to just fire their entire training staff because they cannot keep guys healthy. What they're doing to Jacob deGrom is a travesty. I hope he's healthy this year, but what they did last year was just like, what in the hell are you guys doing? But last thing I want to touch on before we jump off of here is the Jorge Soler news that Hector Gomez broke on that supposedly the Braves are preparing a quote unquote lucrative offer for Jorge Soler. I don't know what that means. But it is very interesting considering 2 days ago, you and I were talking about how he wants 3 to 5 years. And we were like, no way in hell does Alex Anthopoulos touch that. Well, apparently we were wrong. And Alex Anthopoulos is playing in that pool.
Yeah. And you don't know if Freddie not signing with the Braves changes some of that stuff. There's no way to know that, but it's interesting since they were potentially, or I guess they were in on Cruz, and Nelson Cruz said he was talking to them about it. So obviously they're looking for a DH type. So it seems like Ozuna's going to be in left field. I can't imagine they're going to find a suitor to trade him. So it seems like that's the plan.
I mean,
so it'll be interesting.
Unless the outfielder they end up getting is a better option for left field.
Right.
Which could happen. There's a few guys out there who could play a better left field than Marcell Ozuna. One of them is probably me. Just being honest. No, I might have a better arm than Marcell Ozuna. He's got good range. He actually rated higher in outs above average than Ronald Acuna last year. So, that's
a shocking stat.
Yeah,
people
I know.
Put money on that, and
nobody would ever believe that stat.
Yeah.
But
I think it's the arm that a lot of people are like, he doesn't have an arm, but he does. He makes plays that you kind of don't expect.
He's
I think
got
he's not
decent
as bad
range.
as everyone thinks that he is.
Well, everyone always replays the video of him in St. Louis climbing the wall and then just completely falling flat in his face. And, I'm like, I don't think that's very fair to Marcell Ozuna because that's like one of the most embarrassing plays of a player's career. And prior to that, he had won a Gold Glove. So now I don't know if he necessarily deserved that Gold Glove. I remember a certain right fielder by the name of Nick Markakis winning a Gold Glove. And I didn't think he deserved that either because Jason Hayward is the gold standard in right field. But it happened. And so I think that's a little bit unfair to Ozuna. I think he's decent out there. I do wonder about a Rosario. If we sign Rosario, he goes in left field, right?
I think so. And that's another thing I was thinking about is like, because Rosario can give you outfield innings and he can also just be your DH. And he's like a lefty bat. So I was thinking about that too. I'm like, he's a decent fit as well. To bring him back because he can field.
I think that he wants, from what I heard, he wants a 3-year deal.
Okay.
So, I mean, 3 years isn't terrible for an Eddie Rosario. Now, if he starts asking for 5 years, we better not be playing in that sandbox because I'm not about that. I like Eddie Rosario a lot. He crushes the baseball. But
And I think it would be good to get another lefty bat,
that's what we need.
like a Conforto. I'm all in on getting Conforto.
I was
I'm
just
kind of
about to
hoping for
say
that.
the guy that I want is Michael Conforto. He again has some defensive issues. He's not a great defender. He's not a terrible defender either, but he has a cannon.
Yeah. And he definitely
or at
fits
least in comparison to Marcelo Ozuna.
Yeah, I guess it's not that's not
yeah.
much.
So
And he didn't have the greatest year last year, and I think he could sort of use this, like, see what you can do.
He
Kind
could
of like, I know
be
you called it
that.
a prove it deal coming, like a Josh Donaldson.
He could be that Josh Donaldson. Well, I don't know if anybody's gonna be Josh
Yeah,
Donaldson.
that's what I was like, maybe not quite that good, but yeah,
When we signed Josh
sort of idea.
Donaldson, I was like, this doesn't, like, I love Josh Donaldson because I'm from Pensacola. Me and him grew up in the same town. Like, I think I told you before, I found out that he was from Pensacola because one of my friends hung out with him. She lived in Baltimore when he played for Toronto, and he came to Toronto multiple times, and on multiple occasions she was hanging out with him. And I'm like, so I just messaged her. I said, hey, you're hanging out with Josh Donaldson a lot. And I was like, that's a little weird to me because Josh Donaldson is like, you know, to me, he's famous. Yeah. I mean, people who don't watch baseball, they see him down the street like, God, did you see that guy's hair? But to me, that was wild. And she's like, yeah, he grew up in Pace. I was like, what? She's like, well, not Pace, but, Pensacola. I was like, I didn't know that. She's like, yeah, we used to hang out with him all the time. I was like, wow, that's crazy. So yeah, Josh Donaldson is a guy that I'm a big fan of, but when we signed him, I mean, he's coming off the worst season the worst season of his career. He couldn't stay healthy. His calves were all jacked up. And I'm like, this is not a good idea. What are we doing? Josh Donaldson put up an incredible season.
Yeah,
and
I can't believe it for us. Yeah.
Again, Alex Anthopoulos just pulling wizardry out, man. It's just the guy is he clearly has a phenomenal analytics department around him and a phenomenal staff around him because he misses very rarely. We won't talk about Cole Hamels, but I've touched on that before. And I still stand by this. He had never started less than 24 games in his career.
And then, I think it's those misses happen though. And I think that's the thing.
They do. Every GM has those misses, but
no way to know.
Alex Anthopoulos has a lot more wins than he does misses. And I will take that from a GM. So yeah, it could be interesting. Conforto seems like a good guy. There's also Jock out there. I'm just going over left-handed options. The thing with Jock, though, is Jock wants to play every day. He wants to be on the field every day. And that's one of the things I love about Jock Peterson. He loves playing the game of baseball more than 95% of the guys out there. But that's another reason I think we could end up bringing Jock back. We just took a huge hit in that clubhouse. Huge hit.
Yeah. Jock is a great.
And if those guys, those guys are down right now, but if we re-sign Jock Peterson and he walks back through those doors and he says,
what's up, bitches?
There's those motherfuckers right there, then maybe the mood lightens up a little bit. And maybe that is worth giving him a chance to play in left field every day. Or at least majority of days. Right. Because I think right now, the way it's shaken out, it looks like Adam Duvall is going to end up being our center fielder.
I think so, too.
And
I don't think they're going to make another trade. I just don't think they have
we don't have the pieces and there's no free agent center fielders.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just not. The only one that was there was Marte. He's gone. So I think Duvall's going to end up being our center fielder. But what we're probably going to do, and this is where Guillermo Heredia comes into play. Guillermo Heredia is probably going to platoon and play maybe 2-3 times a week. And that's okay because we have a designated hitter now.
Yes.
So
about a ninth and not have to really worry about two dead spots.
And that does allow us to play Jock Peterson more. So I feel like Jock is a great fit. And I feel like in that clubhouse, we're going to need something like that. So hopefully, again, we both said it 100 times. I trust Alex.
Mhm.
I know he's going to get it. I know he's going to get the job done. We said that before Olson got traded. And of course, Alex got the job done. Somebody told me the other day, oh, if Freddie walks, we're probably going to start Arcia at first base, and they're just going to try to convince us that they'll make a trade at the deadline. I was like, there is zero chance that we enter the season without a stud first baseman. Absolute zero chance. And of course, that's exactly what Alex did. So I will always trust in that man. So
Yep. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it all, how we fill out the roster, how it all plays out, but I know it will happen and it'll be exciting. And just in general, of free agency, there's still the top guys are still in the market. So it's really still things are going to happen.
Yeah.
All around the league. So it'll be interesting.
It's going to be an exciting week. But I think we pretty much covered everything.
I think so.
Here in about 15 minutes, Matt Olson's going to have a press conference.
Yep.
So I'm going to go watch that. Yeah. So we'll have plenty to report on next week as well. It's going to be fun. Yep. So I guess we'll see you guys next week, and go Braves, right?
No, go Braves. Take care, everyone.
All right.